Call this meeting to order. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Ask for a motion to the acceptance of the minutes of the November 14th meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor? All those opposed? No one. Motion carries. Public forum. Do we have anybody on the public forum this evening? Call Paige Manning to the floor. Good evening. You have 3 minutes. I'd just like to remind the speaker that we do not discuss any personnel issues, but we will discuss anything that you have to brought besides personnel. Thank you. And specific students, please.
Good evening. My name is Paige Mann, and I come here today to address the upcoming problems in the Ellenville Middle School. What has been come to my attention many times by many people is that people are getting what we call dress coded. That's when you break the code of conduct in Section E of the dress code. As it says here that we can not wear anything that's too revealing or supports anything that has to do with drugs or alcohol. As we kept on going and really observing why we were getting dress coded, it's not because of anything that we were breaking in the dress code, but of rules that has been enforced in the school itself. One of the rules that we kept on bringing to our attention is the 3-finger rule, where you have to fit 3 fingers on your strap so you can wear it. But as an example, someone was dress coded for wearing this, and this is just a band.
Bring that out. We can see.
This is just a regular band, t-shirt, nothing, but they were dress coded because it was too revealing. And we didn't understand that, and kept on bringing to attention that people were just wearing stuff that was not too revealing, but they were still getting dress code because they couldn't fit 3 fingers. And for some people that wasn't fair because some people's fingers are bigger than the others, and how people kept on going and going, and how people quoting this that it eases up in high school. It's not because we want to get it fixed for us, because we know if it does get passed, it won't change in our school year, because I'm in 8th grade, but I want to do it for the people coming up into the middle school for a comfortable environment. And I don't want you guys to take this in a bad way, but when someone quoted that guys can control themselves hormonally, but they can, so I think when that person said it, that they were assuming that they can't, but being in the middle school itself and seeing the guys, they control themselves perfectly fine, and the shirts that we wear don't break the dress code itself. And we decided, because we don't believe in the school rules, we believe in the dress code but not the school rules, that we made a petition against the school rules itself, and I got copies for it, if you would like to see it.
Thank you.
Of how many people, and that was 199 people.
Thank you.
Got to sign this petition saying that we disagree with following, that the school rules that are forced to us girls more than boys, because boys walk around the hallway with sagging pants, and we just think that's not fair, but girls who wear tank tops to school
Thank
get
you.
enforced every day. And we just think that's not fair. And how they'll say distractions are assumed by the faculty and staff in Ellenville. And by that getting sentence, everyone who has signed that, girls and boys have agreed that some of the school rules that has to do with clothing is unfair.
Thank you so much, and I just want to tell you that I'm very proud for you to come forward. It takes a lot of courage and a lot of guts to come up here, and you spoke very eloquently and very thoroughly, and you can take pride in, and your parents can take pride in you as well, and certainly we take pride in the fact that you came up and voiced your concerns. Not an easy task to come up in front of a large group of people and voice your concerns. As to your concerns, I'm going to ask you the following questions, if I may. One, have you spoken, what I'm going to say is a chain of command. So when I talk about that, have you gone to your building principal and spoke about your concerns?
Yes, we have.
You've gone through your building principal. At that point, then have you taken it up and made an appointment to meet with the superintendent of schools?
I haven't, but we do have a meeting on Thursday to meet with her because we did skip that step, but we didn't want to cancel everything we were planning tonight, but we still have that meeting with her.
I appreciate that we were more important. Thank you for that, because normally she gets first and we get second. So,
Well, that's the way it works.
but I would ask that you do the following. Please meet with the superintendent. Please bring your concerns and your backup data that you've supplied to us and any information that you have to the superintendent. If after the meeting with the superintendent you still do not feel, please come back and see us after that meeting to let us know how it went.
Okay.
Thank you very much for coming in.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Call Kennedy, and I'm sorry I can't not read the last.
Kenny, I think it's Sangston.
Sangston. Kennedy, you will have 3 minutes, and welcome.
Okay. Hello and good evening. I am Kennedy Sangster, an 8th grader here at Ellenville Middle School. I've come here to address the upcoming problems with Ellenville Middle School. The distractions. Yes, pen tapping, a complete distraction. But earbuds? No. They are not electronics. They do not use batteries or plug into any sort of wall. Myself and another student had an issue by having earbuds, like these, on. But several classes require us to use earbuds to complete our work, to listen to informational videos. On section E13 in the student dress code, it says, administration reserves the right to rule the appropriateness of any new fashion trend, which headphones have been around for a while. They are not a fashion trend or nothing new. And then also going on to section FH, it says unauthorized use of personal electronic devices, equipment, cell phones, music, camera devices, etc. That for the use. This, wearing it like this, is not using it. It is simply carrying it to each class so I can use it when I need to. Just because you see something doesn't mean I am using it. But let's just say they are a distraction. We're going to go with an example with 10 people, just a small sample of it. So we're going to take example 3 people. 3 seconds per each person. So we'll come to a combined total of 30 seconds. Now a faculty member will, let's say, come up to me and say, and take easily more than 30 seconds to address it. So at that point, what is more important? 3 seconds from 10 people or 3 minutes from my education? Along with this is the phone policy. Yes, I agree students should not be on their phones during school hours because obviously that it's to learn. We have a teacher that allows us to have our phones out, but we have to keep them on our desk so that he knows that we are not going through our phone and not doing our work, so he can watch us. In trying to get this changed, I've been told the 2 of you can't get this rule changed by yourself. So since me and another individual couldn't do it alone, we started the petition, which you have all received. In which 2 school days we have accumulated 199 signatures. During this process, we've been swept under the rug, and we would not let that happen. And this is what I present to you tonight. Thank you for your time.
And I would like to ask you the same questions that I asked Paige before you, and that is, have you gone to see your building principal about this matter?
Yes.
Have you spoken to him?
Huh?
You spoke to him?
Yes.
And have you gone to see the superintendent on this matter?
No, we have not. We just went to this because obviously we have a meeting Thursday with superintendent.
So I will give you the same. Please meet with the superintendent. Please tell her all your concerns, bring in your information, your petitions, sit down and go over with her with the rules and everything thoroughly. And if you do not, after that meeting, please come back and see us and let us know how that went and let us know where we are in this matter as you go forward. I also want to thank you for coming in and taking the time. Again, as I told Paige, this is not an easy thing to do, but I like the fact that you're exercising your rights under the Constitution of the United States and the right to your democratic processes here, and bringing us a petition and also bringing us your thoughts and your feelings and your right to protest things that you feel are inequitable. Continue to do that as you go forward, but also please obey the, go through the proper chain and then come back and see us. Thank you.
If I may add, Mr. President, I know I'm breaking with board etiquette by speaking after a public presentation. I would just like to add that they should continue to do that, but do it in this manner, in an organized, intelligent, well-prepared manner.
Absolutely.
Very, very impressed by the presentation, but I second absolutely that the chain of command and the procedure should be followed.
So everybody heard that? Thank you, Willie. Anybody else want to be heard on this? Next one, this matter? If not, thank you very much. And that's going to be it for the public forum this evening. Presentations, I'm going to go a little bit out of order here. I'm going to take the 8th grade trip first. So Mr. Spinelli, Ms. Alger, and Max Mead, could you please come to the podium?
I think there's also let me just get their names, hold on a minute.
My job is really just to introduce everybody tonight real quick.
Because the class officers are here too.
Correct. Right. The class officers are here. Besides Ms. Alger and Mr. Mead, we also have President Dior Williams.
Welcome.
Okay, we have Vice President Gabriella Hind. We have Secretary Zoe Copeland. And we have Treasurer Paige Manning.
Welcome back.
Mr. Mead?
Bless you.
Bless you.
Good evening. I'm Mr. Mead, here with Miss Alger. We're just here to present the 8th grade trip. I believe everyone's received a copy of the itinerary. So we are here just to take on any questions or anything that you guys may have regarding the trip.
Mr. President, if I may?
Yes.
Mr. Mead, good evening. Thank you to the entire, to all of the class officers, excuse me, as well as the advisors. I would like to just ask how the Boston trip was selected.
Well, I know that trip has gone on since 2000, which would be the year that I started here. I'm not quite sure how Boston came about, if there was a special reason why they chose Boston, but I believe that's been the only trip that the 8th graders have taken, at least in 17 years. And it's a great city.
It is a great city, I agree. But I would wonder if there are other options that Four Winds could provide for trips.
Were there other options, was the question.
We didn't have any options as far as other cities. I mean, we're somewhat limited to where we can go with the 500-mile rule, so that limits us. The only thing we did vote on this year were choices of what to do on the trip. We didn't actually vote on a destination like we do with the senior class, but with the 8th graders, they chose some different activities versus the trip last year.
Thank you, Mrs. Alger.
You're welcome.
Jody?
I think about 2 years ago we changed that there was, and I don't know if it's just the wording in here, it says shopping and lunch on own. Are they still going to be with the chaperones?
Yes, they're
Okay.
not on their own. It's, if you've been to Quincy Market, it's sort of a, it's not an open air market, but it's a row of, it's like a food course.
Yes.
And the students, yes, the chaperones will be
Will
with
be
the
there.
students.
The on your own means it's not covered in the
Just the lunch
trip
is
cost.
covered.
It's
That's what I wanted
out
to
of
make sure.
pocket.
And the
Yeah.
other concern was the lobster dinner, just making sure nobody has an allergy. I've had an issue with somebody that's a friend of ours that even the steam in the restaurant caused if they have a seafood allergy. Just to make sure anybody who's going, just to check into that part of it.
Yep.
We'll check. Yep. Yeah, we'll check on that.
Okay, thank you.
Financially, any student that wants to go is going to be able to go? How are we working?
That's the game plan. We are providing plenty of fundraising opportunities. We had a meeting a couple weeks ago, and the basic message that we told the kids was that if you want to go and you attempt to do some fundraising, you will have the opportunity to go. So we have some fundraising that is done individually, and that money goes directly to the students' cost of the trip. And then there's also some group fundraising that goes into the 8th grade class fund to cover any additional expenses that may occur.
Wayne?
So, thanks for taking this on. Just you said anyone that participates in the fundraising will be able to go. So that means that any child that has skin in the game is going to be able to go, you know what I mean? So when my daughter went, there was a lot of fundraising, and the same few children did all of the fundraising, the pancake breakfast, and in all honesty, those parents were the children's parents paid for them. And I just want to make sure that people that are going to be going on the trip and receiving funds, which I think is fantastic, they have a little bit of skin in the game and they participate in the fundraising. I think that's important to show them, what has to be done.
Yes, and that's what we are encouraging to the students, that they need to pull their own weight, so to speak, so that if there are costs that are incurred, it's not going to be a large sum of money.
Thank you.
Anybody else want to be heard on this matter? Can we hear from your class president as to...
I told you to get ready to speak.
Just like to get your thoughts and reflections on this trip.
I'm excited. I think this is our class's first time doing individual fundraising, so I'm excited that I think a lot more students will be interested in fundraising. Most of the time people just ignore it and we don't get as far as our goal. But with individual fundraising and maybe dances or other fundraising for groups, I would like to see everybody in my grade go that wants to go.
Thank you. Jody?
Just share your fundraisers with the board, send them to the district office because we don't normally get them. So we would like to participate in them as well.
All right.
I know last year there was a link on the webpage.
We still have it.
Is it still there? Because I looked for it the other day and I couldn't find it, but I might not have been on the homepage.
It's there.
But that's where they typically will be listed as well, but we'll definitely share the information. We're selling Little Caesars now, if anybody wants it.
What about Krispy Kremes? I mean,
Yeah,
That's
somebody
coming up.
sell, somebody selling them.
Have
Listen.
Krispy Kremes.
I don't want no cops and donuts, okay?
That ship's out.
That ship's out. All right. Any other questions, Iris?
I'm just interested in knowing, what is the deadline for making the commitment to go on the trip? Is there a specific date that people have to commit by?
So there's a letter that we will be sending out to the families, hopefully by the end of this week. It does have a December 18th date, which is the first deposit, and there is a place for them to sign as a commitment for the trip. But I know when Mr. Dom and I did the senior class trip, we had kids that came to us literally 3 weeks before the trip and said, I changed my mind, I want to go, I have my money, what do I need to do? And we were able to change it. Okay. So it's not a hard deadline, but it just gives us the ability to build up some deposit money, because we obviously have to have a hold for the hotel. So that's what that money allows us to do. So there's definitely a lot of wiggle room in there.
And what is the potential of numbers-wise? How many
This
children are in the
class has 136 kids, so it's a big group. We gave them a number of 100 because usually you don't get everybody. But we could go higher than 100. I don't see us going below 85. I feel like this is going to be a big year for the trip.
Okay, thank you.
The biggest concern with the travel agency is reserving the block of rooms
Right, because
in the hotel, so they want to have an idea they asked for it before Christmas. The other big thing with the deadline is last year the trip included a trip to the Red Sox game, and that, I think, messed with the deadline a little bit because they were worried about giving tickets and not having enough tickets if more people added on late, but that's not in the itinerary this year. We're not going to the game, so we would be able to bring kids in even a little bit later.
Okay, thank you.
And I hate to ask this, but in the climate that we're in today, you have emergency plans in the event of an unforeseen emergency, and have you discussed these and implemented these as far as you can in the future?
Yeah, there will be plans in place, and we'll be discussing those with Mr. Spinelli prior to departing on the trip, and it will be something that we'll cover in the parent meeting that we have before we depart.
I think we have some really good guidelines in the policy, the overnight field trip policy.
Yep, we have that.
Anybody
Mr.
else?
President, I'd just like to say that I'm so happy that you guys learned your lesson from last year, and you're not taking the kids to Red Sox games.
That was a painful thing to sit there and have to cheer for them.
Lesson
It
learned,
was a
thank you.
landslide loss as well.
Oh, my goodness.
It was 83 to 25, and the beach, which is the Race Point Beach, that actually beat out the game by quite a bit.
Okay,
Rightfully so.
So we know where the priorities
we
are.
got good kids,
Rightfully
that's
so.
right.
Anybody else want to be heard on this matter? If not, I would like to thank you all for coming in, and if you stand by, I'm going to ask the board to take some,
I was going to ask for a motion
Yeah,
to move 8.7.
right. That's what we're going to do next. I'm going to ask the board to amend the agenda so that you can hear the results of getting you on your way. But thank you for coming in, and thank you for the presentation. Very, very well thought out.
Thank you for your time.
One thing, I just want to thank Ms. Alger and Mr. Mead for being the advisors this year, and thanks for the class officers for coming for their support tonight as well.
Big kudos,
Thank you.
thank you.
With that in mind, I will ask
Second.
for a motion to amend the agenda
So moved.
and
Second.
move 8.7.1 to the floor. We have a motion
Motion
and a
made.
second. Motion and a second. Do we have any discussion on this? If not, all those in favor? All those opposed? No one. Motion carries. Good luck and have fun.
8.7.1.
Now I will ask for Ms. Angela Urbina Medina and Ms. Stephanie Lappin for the next presentation on the Ellenville Summer Boost Academy. Stephanie Lappin here? Oh,
Yes.
okay.
Good evening, President Matrician, Superintendent Wiles, members of the Board of Education, and the Ellenville Central School District educational family. On more than one occasion over the last couple of years, I've come to you and shared with you concerns that we've all shared about literacy. We rewind the clock to February of last year, actually at one of our Board of Education meetings. A question came up about whether or not we could develop a program to address the struggling literacy issues that we had with our students to meet their needs during the summer. After that conversation, shortly thereafter, the planning began with Ulster BOCES on creating a program for our students here in Ellenville for the summer of 2017. The discussions included staffing, curriculum, materials, transportation, meals, and most importantly, identifying the student population. As we moved toward late spring, I began compiling a list of students who would be the eligible participants. Considerations were given to students who were a grade to a grade and a half below where they should be. Retention, previous retention, retention recommendations that were current, and of course, teacher recommendation. In spite of what were minor bumps in the road in the planning, like construction and administrative turnover and more construction, we were able to send our Boost program on its maiden voyage this past summer. It was a summer journey that began in July. The Boost journey, the rest of the story, I'm going to invite Stephanie Laffin up, and she's going to pick up where I've left off, and she's going to share with you, which you also have in front of you, some of the data and some of the experiences that our students had in this very unique and very successful program. Stephanie Laffin.
Thank you, Ms. Urbina. It's good to be with you this evening, and it was my pleasure to spend so much time planning the experience for your students in our Summer Boost Academy. So I thank you for that opportunity. We worked in partnership with Ms. Urbina for quite a few months, planning what this would look like as the beginning to a program that was very ambitious because we needed to partner with lots of people to make it happen. And I want to share a little bit with you guys about the program. So obviously we were in the middle school because of construction, which was a challenge. We had to move all the little people furniture up to not so little people land, and it took a little bit of planning, but it happened and it worked very well. We had a principal was Jillian McGann, and we were focused on grades K-4. So our kindergarten were students who had just finished kindergarten, not moved up to the next level. Our staff was comprised of 7 teachers, 2 teaching assistants, 2 hall monitors, and our school nurse who made everything run smoothly. And you can see our program duration, but really what that meant was 30 days, 31.5 days with our students. So it went quickly, even though when you see 6 weeks, the time we actually had face-to-face time, it was limited. And Ms. Urbina has already spoken to you about our target population. Our daily attendance averaged at 83%, and our enrollment on the first day was 59 students, and on the last day was 56. And this was something we were particularly proud of, that in a 6-week voluntary summer program, we were able to provide an experience where the students wanted to be and parents wanted to get their students there, that they prioritized it, and all the things that come up in the summer, and we were really proud of that, and I think it speaks to some of the success that we'll be able to share with you with our following data. So one of our main focuses for the program was reading, and we used an assessment to determine the students' growth in reading based on their guided reading levels. And we did an assessment at the beginning of the program and 6 weeks later at the end of the program. So our growth reflects the difference between those 2 assessments. And we use guided reading. I'm not sure how familiar you are with guided reading and what it means, but it's a system of organizing books by their level of difficulty. And those books are rated from an A to Z system. So in that time period, the growth you can see by grade level, the averages by grade level. Kindergarten grew 1.3 levels, first grade 0.8, second 1.4, and third and fourth both 8. And to give you a little more information about what that really means, let's take a look at a kindergarten class. There were 12 students in the class. So we had 9 students moving from an A to a B, 1 student from an A to a C, another student from a C to F, and 1 student from a B to a D. And I brought some leveled guided reading books that I'm going to pass around, and if you would like, you can kind of take a look at the difference between an A and a C, an F and an I, and you can really see kind of the jump. And if you'd like, it gives you a little more information about what the leveled books mean and what it means to really move from one book to another. The complexity, the vocabulary, you can kind of trade with your partner and see the difference. The first one there is an A. And the second example we have is from second grade. In second grade, the students are kind of all over the place. In kindergarten, they're usually starting at a pre-A or an A level. And in second grade, you've got students who have advanced much more so that you can see the movement. Students going from a K to an M, a J to an L, a J to an M, and our growth average 1.4 levels. Before I move on to writing, does anybody have any questions about the reading assessment or anything from guided reading? Yes?
I saw you talked about jumping up levels. How does that relate to grade levels, like where we would say somebody's reading at a 2.4 or something like that?
There's usually district-determined grade level correlation charts, and I'm not exactly sure what yours is, but I can show you kind of what a grade level, what a reading level is on average. I made some copies of this to show you. So this is on average by the end of the year, and I urge you just to remember that, you know, these students are struggling. They aren't performing on grade level.
Thank you.
So, teaching reading is...
You give them to me, I'll make sure everyone gets them.
So my question was that, so when you talk about students jumping like a 1.4, that would be the letters here, or?
Not grade levels.
Not grade
I
levels,
understand,
okay.
not grade levels,
Thank you.
letters,
Right.
reading levels. So an A to a B or a C to a D, reading levels, not grade levels.
Ash, is there any regression for these children? Do they stay engaged?
I mean, they all moved up.
Oh, yes.
So whereas if they weren't engaged in the program, we could have seen regression over the summer.
Summer slide is very common, and you know the aim of the program, as we spoke about the goals, was really to address summer slide and to prevent summer slide. And as you'll see as we move forward, we had gains across the board, every student. Okay. Okay, so next we move on to writing, and our second focus was writing. And we work with Ms. Urbina to really determine the focus. When you only have a small amount of time to work with students, it requires a very specific focus on a standard. So we determined, based on the 3 to 8 New York State ELA data, and that we were going to focus on W2, writing for informative and explanatory texts. And our assessment used a rubric, levels 0 to 4. And the student assessment was a written response to a writing prompt. And as you can see from, I just took a sample from grade 3 here, with 8 students assessed, 4 students moving from a 1 to a 2, 1 student growing from a 1 to a 4, 2 students from a 1 to a 3, and 1 student staying even. Average growth in that class was 1.7 levels, and that's on a 4-point rubric.
I'm sorry, so out of 4 possible points, the improvement was 1.7 points? Really?
Yes.
Thank you.
On average.
On average.
On average, okay.
So just to give you a little sample of what this might look like. We have a second grade student's growth, so the pre-test at the beginning. Their response, you can see, I can read it to you, it's a little bit hard to read. I know a lot about cats. There's a hairless cat. There's a cat in Mexico that looks like a Chen. I know that a black and white cat is called a tuxedo. So that was the pre. And at the post, you guys can see we've moved over to the second page.
Wow.
Lots more detail, more stamina. An increase in detail, increase in using transition words such as like, first, then, and those are really key things that the standard speaks to, basic skills that we need to develop to move forward. And as you can see in the next slide, these are the growth writing from K through 4. From week 1 into week 6. Kindergarten growing on average by 0.9, first by 0.5, second by 0.4, 1.7 in third. The third graders were very busy with their writing, you can see. And fourth grade going a full point as well. Our third area of focus was math, and again, we collaborated with Ms. Arvina using state data from the 3 through 8 math tests, but also Ulster BOCE's content specialist that was working in Ellenville last year. And we focused on some very specific standards within each grade. In kindergarten, operations and algebraic thinking, counting and cardinality. First grade, operations and algebraic thinking, and numbers and operations in base 10. Same thing in third and fourth.
If I may.
Yes.
What is cardinality?
Just number sense and fluency.
Okay, thank you.
So math assessment details, just to give you a sense of that. In each grade, students answered 3 questions. They focused, again, graded on a rubric 0 to 4, and they had an opportunity to earn a total of 12 points. So you can see from the slide, one kindergarten student, one piece of sample data. Question 1 in the pre was a 2, question 1 in the post was a 3, question 2 in the pre was a 2, a 4 in the post, etc. So their total pre-instruction score was a 5, their post-instruction score was a 9, so that's a 33% growth. That's just one sample of one kindergarten student. To give you a little more detail about what an assessment looks like for a kindergartner, with our kindergarten math assessment, the teachers scribe for the students. Due to their emerging ability in writing, we want to capture what they know in math without literacy skills being a barrier. So the teacher scribes, both for the post and the pre and the post. So if you take a look with the answers, everything was written, whatever the student said was written down. So you can see the pre-test moving to the post, both in their accuracy, their familiarity, their understanding, their skill and confidence grew substantially from the pre to the post. And this slide shares the math growth for the Boost Academy. And kindergarten in math was a 40% growth on average. They did really, really well. And our math growth was substantial in the program. Any questions about that? I do have a video that we put together that really kind of summarizes that we want to share with you.
So I want to talk about the number of children that attended. So we have 59 that attended. Is there a way to, I would obviously like to see more children attend this, and certainly one of the things I heard was that we needed to have more of a greater outreach to get more children to attend. How does that look for next year? What are we doing to get the model, to improve this and get more attendance? And, because obviously we have a greater need than what we have here, and it was a great, successful program, but we'd like to see more people attend.
Absolutely, and we reflected on the attendance in the program at the start, the middle, and the end, and talked about what it is that we could do differently in order to boost the number of student participants in the summer of 2018. As you know, we had some transition going on the latter part of the school year into the summer that did impact our outreach and our ability to put real focus and emphasis on speaking with parents and students about the need to attend the program. It's not enough to send a letter. The letter does not speak to what the value is in the program. So in retrospect, and moving forward for the summer of 2018, if we're able to go down this road again, which I hope that we are able, we will reach out to parents, follow up with phone calls, get teachers more involved in, that individual kind of outreach, that individual kind of touch. Hey, come on, this is a great program, you're going to have a lot of fun. We have evidence to show. The kids that I saw whenever I was able to be in the middle school and see the students participating, they were engaged. They were engaged in a way that you want kids to be engaged. So it's not that we're dangling something for students and saying, come on, it's gonna be fun. No, it's gonna be fun. And I don't think that they even realized how much they were learning because they were so engaged in the learning that was taking place. So we have already talked about ways that we're going to go about beating the drum differently.
Good, thank you. Anybody else? John?
Yes, everyone, realizes how important the reading level is to the academic success of a student. Beyond the benchmark progresses that you showed from the pre-test to the post-test, what intrinsic values of the program do you expect? For example, do we find that students are more eager to learn when they return to school in the next year? Do we expect the gains to continue? And what is a realistic growth expectation for students as they continue on?
That's a lot to answer. So, yes, there should be carryover. There should be carryover from the summer program to this school year. And that is evidenced by confidence and swagger and the willingness to engage. Nothing breeds success like success. So students experiencing success in this summer program are more likely to want to come to school. We have attendance issues, and some of that has to do with the fact that why do you want to come to school if you're not going to be successful? So this success that they had over the summer might be the fuel that they need to keep them in their seats, and then that will just be a snowball that will grow ever bigger. The second part of your question was?
You answered it. Did you expect the gains to continue? And the third question was, what is a realistic growth expectation for students as they continue on? Because it's hard to jump big areas in reading.
We achieved one huge goal that was a major focus for us and a motivator, which was to avoid the summer slide. We had kids come back to school in a better place academically than they were. For many of them, than they were when they left. So in terms of maintaining that momentum, being able to be on grade level, is a huge achievement. Let's hit the video.
Willie?
Ms. Urbana?
Oh, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. Ms. Urbana Medina, do we have any data on the students that participated in the Boost program for this current school year?
So there was a cohort created in our student management program because we needed to track attendance and we needed emergency contact information. So they are alive in data land. And now that we are past the first report card, what I would like to do is go in and gather some information about where those students are now.
Sure.
Because it is possible for us to maintain an eye on how it is that they're progressing through the school year.
Yes. Okay. Thank you.
We have a great video.
All right, we'll take a look at your video.
In partnership with the Ellenville Central School District, Ulster BOCES worked to design a really special experience for their elementary school students. And the goal was to prevent summer slide. And the inspiration behind it was really, what if? What if we did everything that the research says that we should do? What if we have very small class sizes? What if we provide transportation? What if we feed the students 2 meals a day? What if we have specially designed targeted small group instruction that's research-based? And at the end of the experience, we came up with some really great results. In asking the question, what if? Here were the results.
Hi, my name is Nevaeh, and what I learned is my multiplications and things I didn't learn in like 4th grade. And I like it because my teacher's nice and I know everybody in my class.
I learned math in summer school.
My name's Savannah and I learned how to do multiplication.
My name is Josh. I learned more about math.
My name is Ariani and I learned how to write.
I like the math games because they're like games, but math.
My name is Shayrod, and one thing I learned in summer school is how to multiply fractions.
My name is Steele, and I learned a lot of stuff in Boost Academy. I learned math, writing, reading, and more stuff, and I learned a lot.
Really pleased with the data following our summer program. We had growth, not only did we prevent summer slide, but we had growth in reading, we had growth in writing, we had growth in math. So the students are really positioned for a great beginning to the school year. We also had very strong attendance, so that's something we were really pleased about and helped us to create the results that we got.
Are there any other questions?
Raymond?
Before the video was started, I was going to ask both of you, how did the students know they were successful? And after seeing the video, I think the evidence is clear. They know it.
Thank you. Anybody else? Willie?
Mr. Urbina, how is this program scalable now at this point?
Scalable?
Scalable, yeah. Like, I know that we discussed parent outreach and increasing the enrollment, but is it realistically scalable? Like, can we expect, as we increase the enrollment, can we expect the same results?
Absolutely.
Great.
And there were certain key factors that Stephanie mentioned, the class size, the very targeted instruction.
Mm-hmm.
We looked at where the students were, where it was that we needed them to be,
Okay.
and that's what we aimed for. Very focused. You know, summer is an ideal time.
Sure.
The summer program cannot duplicate what takes place 10 months out of the school year. It's not the same, unfortunately.
Okay.
Because the dynamics are different. But with all that being said, it is possible to scale the program up. We anticipated and had hoped for a pool of students shy of 200. We got less than that. But for the summer of 2018, that maintains my goal.
Okay.
So that's what I'm aiming for.
Excellent. And is there anything, are there any obstacles that you foresee that need to be addressed other than outreach and enrollment? And when I say obstacles, I mean obstacles to scaling the program.
I think we're only limited by the size of our vision. I think that this was a grassroots program that really was born right here.
Mm-hmm.
And from that conversation, we created something that was beneficial for the students in this community. So provided that that is still primary in our minds as being a goal, then we're going to move heaven and earth to make it happen.
Okay, excellent.
Jody?
By the third beginning of fourth marking period, we should kind of have an idea of what students we're targeting, so we could be reaching out to the parents at parent-teacher conferences as well and introducing this possibly to them at that time.
I believe that the way that we organized that initial letter last year was right around the fourth quarter. But we use data from the first 3 marking periods as a measure and a guide. And at that point, we have sufficient data from the students' participation in at least 2 rounds of STAR testing, plus teacher recommendation, plus report card grades. So there's a lot to work from at that point.
Thank you. I'd just like to say, based on the statistics in the video, it seems to be a very successful start to hopefully what we see in the future here, and more success to come, to
Great
follow.
job.
And
Great
job.
job.
Phenomenal, phenomenal.
Thank you for your support. Thank you, Stephanie.
Thank you.
Just on behalf of Ulster BOCES, I want to say thank you. We appreciate the opportunity to serve your students.
Thank you. All right. That concludes our presentations for this evening. We'll move on to reports, information, and correspondence. Board President, I'd like to ask, I guess we'll go to Ms. Urbina. Are we looking at purchasing the Super Kids program for pre-K?
Yes.
I think we ordered it, didn't we? order it?
We have a couple of demos
Yeah.
that were sent, or they're on their way.
Okay.
We'll look at those materials and continue the expansion.
And based on, I know we're going to get a report at the next meeting, because that's what we looked at, but based on the information you have to date, how is the Super Kids program going in the implementation stages of kindergarten?
It's progressing very well. I think that the teachers have been pleasantly surprised by the student performance. We've had the opportunity just right after the break to take a look at assessment data for the kindergarten classes. At this point, most classes have participated in at least 3 assessments, if not 2 assessments, and the growth that we're seeing with regard to, and let's keep in mind, we're talking about kindergarten students here.
Yeah. Most important.
Right. But even the handwriting tools that are part of the program, and the ice cream and the cone and the layers, the students have completely bought into the writing component, which has been a weakness for us. The teachers are very happy about the way that the handwriting is being taught. The students are engaged and enthusiastic about the songs, about the characters. They can't get enough of it. And that zest for participation in this literature program, this literacy program, is resulting in growth for our students.
Good. It'll be interesting to see at the end of the year those students that have progressed through the assessments that we can measure, and then those that go to the Boost Academy following, how those compare to where we were this year, and as the, using the data to correlate and see where our successes are and where our weaknesses are going forward. That should be an interesting aspect of the program.
Yeah.
Thank you, Ms. Urbina. Next question I have is for Mr. Napoli. I'm hearing that around the building we have some cracks in some of the new countertops that were put down in the K through 1 wing there, and also some areas of the bathrooms there up in the high school. Some of the new construction is having some issues in the high school bathroom there.
I'm aware of the PLAM, which is, people are referring to that as the countertops. They're cracking on the inside corners. We don't know why. I would say probably most of the classrooms have some form of a crack in the PLAM. We're trying to figure out what happened. We don't know if it's...
Not just us, the contractor. When you say we, what do you mean?
I mean, me, the construction manager, the contractor, the manufacturer, us. I'm not aware of any problems in the high school bathroom, so I'd be happy to hear them, and then...
This, the brand new sink, discoloration, things of that nature on the walls, some discoloration.
Well, I think they had to be cleaned. Yesterday I went down there, so we'll take a walk. I'll walk down there.
Some mold that I heard is down there as well.
Mold in
yeah.
the new bathroom?
Yeah, you might want to take a look at that.
I was in there yesterday. I didn't see it, but we'll take a look at it.
Yeah, just take a look at it. Yeah. And the other thing, do we have a response to Judge Lonstein's transportation issue? He was here about a few weeks ago. Did we respond to him at all?
Well, we just put some information in your packet. I don't know, Vince.
Yeah, so there is a in my report, there is a report for you. I do have an amendment to it. I didn't have this data at the time when I typed this up. So right now, the labor costs to go from a 445 to 515 would be in the neighborhood of $32,000. The transportation cost would be an additional $10,000 because the drivers are already scheduled to come and work at 4:45, so there would be that half-hour time when they're scheduled to work that we would be holding them over in the bus garage or sitting around and waiting for them to pick up the kids at 5:15. So it's anticipated to be around $10,000. So the total cost right now is, unless I've missed something, about $42,000 to move from 4:45 to 5:15.
And we relayed that, just giving him a response as to where we are.
We wanted to give it to the board first, and we are planning on budgeting for next year and working out a solution for the 2 days of the faculty meetings. But if we move this to 5:15 and we run a bus, we're just going to have to look at, there'll be an additional cost for those 2 days to hold students in a after-school study hall or something like that. So we're costing that out too. Probably, I think if we funded that, I don't know what it is, so it's 2 days a week for 10 months, would be 20 days of supervision for students from 2:45 till 4:15.
Okay, thank you. Jody, where are we on the mascot?
We had a meeting last week on the mascot. We have a few in the works where some of the students weren't ready with their designs, and Mr. Ella is working on some designs with his students as well. We're going to meet again probably after the new year. They just have some curriculum that they're trying to get through, and then with Mr. L's class, and then we'll meet again in January.
Thank you. Any other board members want to have anything?
Yes, Mr. President, I received, in our board package, we received the yearbook update and notification, ordering information, deadlines for ads and pre-orders. And it being the holiday season, I see that the advertisements for the yearbook are due by 12/1 this coming Friday, and the yearbook orders are due, it looks like, just before Christmas, 12/22. I was wondering if it'd be possible, seeing as how it is the holiday season, and there are a lot of expenses that families are going to be looking at during this season. I was wondering if we could find out if it was possible to get some sort of an extension on that, on those dates. And the same for the 8th grade trip deposit. The first deposit is due December 18th. That's smack dab in the middle of the holiday season. There may be no latitude with that particular date, and Mrs. Alger was good enough to share that she would make sure that she accommodated any students that came with their funds after that date or any time before the trip. So that's much appreciated. I wanted to see if there was any latitude.
I'll speak to Mr. Pavone tomorrow. He can reach out to the yearbook advisors.
Thank you, Madam Superintendent.
Wayne?
If we could speak about that yearbook for another minute. I've been saying for the past 5 or 6 years, these prices for the ads are really outrageous for parents. I mean, it's just my opinion, but $200 for a full-page ad.
Yeah.
I look at the ads for the elementary and middle school yearbook, and they're just so much less. I don't see how families can afford it with proms and senior trips and everything else, and I think that it's criminal in all honesty. I truly do.
I'll ask the superintendent to talk to the yearbook advisor, see where we are, and maybe.
Yeah. Yeah, I can see.
What the
I mean,
price
I
is?
think this is a big part of their, but let me speak to them and say.
Yeah, we've been discussing this for
Yeah.
years, though, and it's
Yeah.
just, you know,
I don't know
we
that they have.
we really don't have an answer, because the ads for the middle school and elementary school, those are color yearbooks as well, and they're just much less. They cost half the price.
I think the books that they produce are considerably less costly. So I'll speak to them about the sources of revenue that they have to pay for these books. So,
They should be targeting businesses maybe, or something to lower the cost. The more ads you have, the less money you have to pay for it. I
let
mean,
me get some data from last year on what their collections were and how they funded the yearbook.
And they can keep ours as well, I mean, in my opinion.
Right. Iris?
The book itself is $50 a piece, if you noticed on this. So
Yeah.
I'm not sure how all the math works. I know the elementary and middle school are soft-covered books, so
Correct.
generally, it's a different kind of binding and
They're
stuff,
hardcover.
but still,
They're hardcover.
Middle school's hardcover, elementary soft.
I would be interested in knowing what the costs of these books are actually, from year to year.
Much less for the
Yeah.
middle school and elementary school.
Or if they shop around for other publishers, I don't know how they set it all up now, but, there should be other choices, I would think. But I'm not sure. But it is prohibitive.
Yeah.
It is.
Thank you.
Anybody else to be heard on the yearbook? John, can we get an update on Hall of Fame, please?
Yes, sir. So we had our meeting, and I discussed it at the last Board of Education meeting, and we made tremendous amount of progress. We're hoping that we could have some discussion today, consider this kind of a first reading, and resolve a final few issues within the committee and bring it back to the board for a vote. So I'd just like to go over very quickly what we've discussed to this point. So we want to form a Ellenville High School Athletic Hall of Fame, and we came up with some bylaws. The organization is that there would be a committee made up of the following: 3 current coaches, both male and female, 2 Hall of Fame members, which we would get later on, 2 community members, male and female, and 2 at-large members. So that would be the committee that would look at nominations every year. The Director of Health, Education, and Athletics will serve as the facilitator of the committee, but not have voting rights. We have a nomination process that we completed a form on where people would nominate either individuals, teams, etc., and those would be reviewed by the committee. We had 4 categories that you can nominate someone for the Ellenville High School Athletic Hall of Fame: an athlete, a coach administrator, an honorary candidate, or a team. And in most of those instances, the people that are nominated would have been completed or graduated from the high school for 6 years. And we talked about the application process and the screening and voting of the candidates reviewed by the committee. We came up with a yearly timeline. So basically what we would like to do is get the committee up and running this spring, have the nominations in by April 15th, a May vote by the committee. In June, the yearly honorees would be announced and invited to come back. And then at the homecoming football game, we would induct the inaugural class of the Ellenville High School Athletic Hall of Fame. There's 2 issues that we'll be addressing when we meet with the committee again. Certainly, it's not a significant cost for the yearly financing of a Hall of Fame, but we will be discussing how we plan on financing that. Our original thought is that the district would handle the financing, but we could do fundraising and donations. And the second thing was the process for appointing the committee members. We believe that that should stay with the Board of Education, and we'll be discussing those 2 issues and other final plans. And then what I'd like to do is bring back the full packet after we meet to the board for a vote, and if need be, we'll reach out to the board members to show them what changes we've proposed so that they have that in hand before we come back and meet.
So at this point then, I will ask all the board members to contact the committee with their concerns. I'm going to charge this committee to meet again, as you said, Mr. Barnes, and I want the committee to come up with a final review of all the concerns and incorporate it, and then bring back a final product for board review at the next meeting. Is that doable?
Yes, that's correct. And just so the board knows, myself, Jody, Iris, and Wayne are on the committee, so you could speak to any of us with your concerns, and they can bring it back. And we'll set up the meeting and hopefully have it by the next board meeting.
Thank you. Anybody else want to be heard on this Hall of Fame committee? I just want to thank you, the board, the committee members of the board that are meeting and taking the time to get this worthwhile project going, and look forward to hearing back from you at the next meeting with your final report.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other board member want to be heard this evening? No, if not, we will move on to our student representative. Welcome.
Hi. How are you doing?
Good, how are you?
I'm good. So recently a couple students have told me that they are interested in starting a cheerleading squad, so they're working on getting a petition and then going to Mr. Probone with that. And then another petition is Andrew and I are trying to work with our class to have the issue about decorating our caps when we graduate, and how we can monitor what is on it, and if we can figure out a way to compromise with Mr. Probone on decorating those. There was recently an alumni basketball game that fundraised for their warm-ups that was really successful. And the winter season is starting to pick up, so there will be more games and meets. So I know the first track meet is next Wednesday. Boys basketball had a scrimmage today. The girls basketball team had a scrimmage last week. And so the games are starting. Honor Society has a coffee house on December 8th from 6 to 8 p.m. So if you would like to come, you should, because we're trying to get more people to show up and make more of a community feel. And the theme is Winter Wonderland, so if you're interested in snowflakes, we have snowflake lights.
That was the 8th grade?
Yes, December 8th.
Could you give us a little more information, like time and where it's held?
6 to 8 p.m. on December 8th. It will be in the high school cafeteria. And there was a staff volleyball game last Friday. It was a fundraiser for the senior class. And this Friday, the freshmen are planning a dodgeball game. It's a staff versus staff game, and it's from 7 to 9 p.m. So if you can come out, you should. That's all I have. Oh, no, that's not all I have. The New Visions Health class is working with the Alzheimer's Association, and so we're starting a fundraiser soon, and we need donations to raise money for research and awareness that we will donate to the association around February, where their next event is. So I will be coming around with an envelope that you are welcome to fill.
That's diplomatic, Rick. I like that.
And
Perfect.
That's all I need. And now I'm done.
You're welcome to fill. Thank you very much. I just want to give you a point of information. You do not need a petition for the cheerleading club. Just need to bring it forward to the, to your building principal and up to the superintendent with your ideas on how you want to get this club going. And the other thing is that for your other idea, there's not a petition either. I would say that you follow your chain of command in that instance. Meet with Mr. Babone and Ms. White, and then if you don't get any results there, then please make an appointment with Superintendent Wiles and present your ideas there as well.
Okay, so I'll let people know.
Thank you. Thank you for your report. Very informative. Ms. Wiles, are you playing in the dodgeball game?
No, actually, there's a big rumor. I heard that Weesa Lyles is playing, but she's not. She may be making a special appearance, but
An
definitely
cameo
not
appearance, wow.
Since all the staff and the administrators are playing, somebody's got to watch.
I heard all
But
this.
I do have to tell you that the alumni game was great. The volleyball game I was at was excellent. So some good work happening out there to raise money and support the classes and great causes. So kudos to the senior class and all the students in the high school. So December 4th, we'll be having our initial meeting with the architects, talking about the building condition survey, so we'll have more information coming to you about that, but we do have something scheduled. I know that we have a referendum on, somewhere on a timeline. I'm not sure that we're going to make a May referendum. It's looking like we're probably looking at November, but we'll have more information after we have this meeting on the 4th. The second thing is related to construction. So as you know, when you're going into the side entrance of the high school where the basketball, when we go, the entrances for basketball games in the gyms, we are putting a walkway cover, a canopy up. We have done most of the infrastructure. We were planning on doing that sometime in November. We've been having the contractor, has been getting many delays from the manufacturer down in Florida, and they couldn't guarantee certain things to us. So we are, the construction manager and the contractor have consulted with us, and the installation of that canopy is not going to happen until the summer. We couldn't get the assurances that we wanted, and I really don't want to take a chance of blocking up that entranceway during, a busy in-gym season, and we just think all around it'll be a better installation if we wait for the summer. So that is going to happen in the summer of 2018. The next thing I want to talk about is this grant that the Monticello School District, Fallsburg School District, and the Newburgh School District received for a significant amount of after-school programming money. So I want to bring this up because I've gotten many calls, I know board members have gotten calls, and people in the community have a lot of concerns as to why we didn't get the opportunity, or we did not have the opportunity, people don't know this, why we didn't get any of the money. Similar demographics and poverty levels as Monticello and Fallsburg and Newburgh. So we knew that we weren't eligible to get the money, so here's the governor put a big pot, $35 million of money out there for after-school programming in areas that have high poverty indexes. And while Ellenville has a very high poverty index, the benchmark, I think, was 30%. And as a county, 30% poverty index for the county. Sullivan County itself has a high poverty index over 30%. And while Kingston and Ellenville have a high poverty index, when you factor in all the other indexes, it puts us just below 30%. So there was a list, and you can go on to the governor's website and the website of State Ed. There was a list of eligible school districts invited to apply for this money. We were not on the list. So we were not happy that we weren't on the list. We have a grant writer. We know we've gotten the My Brother's Keeper grant, and they're always searching for grants that we're eligible to participate in, and they're reaching out to us, and they're still looking for opportunities. This opportunity passed over the summertime, and we knew we were not invited. So we did not skip over the opportunity. We knew about the opportunity, but we were not invited to apply for the grant. I will tell you that there's been great advocacy at the local level now to ensure, supposedly there's going to be a second round of $35 million for after-school programming, and it's significant. Monticello, they got $1.3 million for 5 years. Fallsburg got $700,000 for 5 years. We're a little bit bigger than Fallsburg, smaller than Monticello, and we've had some contacts reach out to Mike Hines' office and the governor's office, and we're trying to make sure that they are very cognizant of the fact that we want an opportunity to apply. Because while the county might not have a poverty index, to measure that and to exclude schools like ours in rural areas is just, it's not fair and it's not right. So I'm not complaining too much. I just want an opportunity next year. So the door closed, but maybe we can get the door to open. I wanted to clarify that because I know there's been a lot in the community about a missed opportunity, but it wasn't an opportunity for us. The last thing that I want to talk about is board docs. I'm going to be going to the board docs platform. We do have some tentative training dates. One of them is January 4th, and we can do a training, not sure where or the logistics of it, but at 5:30. It'll probably be some here, some in, where we meet for executive session. They told us, and we can do some of the legwork here, make sure we test it in areas that we're actually going to be in. So we had a policy committee meeting set for January 4th at 5:30, so I would suggest we cancel that meeting and open it up to a special meeting so we can get the training done for the board on the 4th. We're working through the logistics of computers. We know that there'll be computers at your stations here for you to look at, and we're seeing about the possibility of finding Chromebooks for you to have to access. But most everybody, I think, has access to other computers or tablets. We're looking at the logistics, so more to come on that. We've been talking about it. And that's all I have tonight.
Thank you, Superintendent Wiles. Assistant Superintendent for Business, Mr. Napoli.
Thank you. In my last report at the last board meeting, I talked about us teaming up with People's Place in Kingston to provide Thanksgiving feasts for people. I will tell you that we served over 91 families, which is over 337 people, Thanksgiving feasts. Justine Avery, who works in my office, did a tremendous job coordinating all the data and reaching out to people. Teresa Shealy, she did a great job. And it was, the family showed up in a timely manner. When we did this last year, it was on a snow day, so we had trouble with people coming to school, so we had to deliver some meals. This year, I think we delivered 2 meals. It was a tremendous success. We'll be reaching out to the same group of people for their annual holiday toy drive that People's Place puts on. I'm hoping to get out a letter this week. I was expecting someone to be here tonight to talk about something that's happening on this Sunday, but she's not here. This Sunday is the noonday dinner from 1 to 4, so please come out and enjoy that.
Senior citizens. Just saying.
Okay. It's the annual senior citizen holiday dinner. ShopRite donated recyclable bags for our Thanksgiving feast. They helped us last year, as well as so did some faculty members with some cloth bags. And that's all I have.
I'd just like to say on behalf of the Board of Education, we'd like to thank those of you that were involved in getting these much-needed meals out to people who are in a time of need, and certainly I know they're appreciated, and I think I can speak for all of us and say that we're eternally grateful to everybody who took the time to do that.
And there were other clubs too. President Matrician, Key Club put a lot of baskets out, and there are other organizations in the school that made sure that supplemented the...
Please pass along our
We will. We will.
appreciation.
Still Christine.
Thank you. Thank you for that report, Mr. Napoli. Now we go again to Assistant Superintendent of Curriculum Instruction, Ms. Angela Urbina Medina.
I have nothing else to report.
Wow. Thank you very much. The discussion item was on the Athletic Hall of Fame, which I took out of order. My apologies. We'll now go to the resolutions for this evening. Under Personnel 8.1, 8.1.1, that Sandy Goodman and Cheryl Ann Stokeland be appointed certified substitutes at a rate of $125 per day work for the 2017-18 school year.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? All those in favor? All those opposed? No one. Motion carries. Unanimous. 8.1.2, that Randy Deal be appointed on-certified substitute teacher at a rate of $95 per day worked for the 2017-18 school year.
So moved. Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? None? All those in favor? Opposed? No one? Motion carries unanimous. 8.1.3, that Clint Rettenmeyer be appointed substitute cleaner at a rate of $13.50 per hour work for the 2017-18 school year.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? No one? Motion carries unanimous. 8.1.4, that the resignation of Ann Jaray as mentor to Danielle Brooks for the 2017-18 school year be accepted effective immediately.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? No one? Motion carries unanimous. 8.1.5, that based upon the selections made by the mentor team, consist of 51% teachers appointed by the ETS RPA, the board approves the following mentor at an annual stipend of $1,000 to be prorated and contingent upon required training. Mentor for the 2017-18 school year, Karen Hopkins for Danielle Brooks.
So moved.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? No one? Motion carries.
Second. Second.
Sorry, yeah, we had a second.
No, second.
Oh, I thought I heard a second.
Sorry.
No.
Second.
Okay, well, you can take the second off of that. 8.1.6, that the co-curricular personnel as set forth on the list below be approved at a contractual rate listed for the 2017-18 school year, prorated. And they are Jeremy.
The list is presented.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? No one? Motion carries. Unanimous. 8.1.7, that Bridget Gonzalez be appointed as a substitute cleaner at a rate of $20.25 per hour for the 2017-18
So
school
moved.
year.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? No one? Motion carries unanimous. 8.1.8, that Charles Murray III be appointed as a long-term substitute teacher, 712 special ed vacancy at a contractual rate of $64,755, prorated step 1 bachelor's, 54 plus master's, effective September 1, 2017 through June 30th, 2018.
So moved.
Moved. Second. All those, discussion? None? All those in favor? Opposed? No one? Motion carries. Unanimous. All right, 8.2 under policy. Oh, is there anyone to move?
Mr. President, I'd
any
like
of
to move 8.2.1 through 8.2.6.
Second.
these? Been moved and
Second
seconded.
readings.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor? All those opposed? No one? Motion carries unanimous. Under budget, 8.3.
President, I'd like to move 8.3.1 through 8.3.3.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? No one? Motion carries unanimous. Under education, 8.5.1, resolved that the attached list of IEPs be acknowledged as appropriate. There are 23.
So moved.
Moved and second. Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? No one? Motion carries unanimous. 8.6.1 under construction. Resolved that the October 2017 payment for the architect in the amount of $45,392 be approved for Mosaic.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? No one? Motion carries unanimous. We did 8.7. Is there any items that the board members would like to see on the next agenda? Mr. John?
Yes, I believe it was Mr. Story who brought up the possibility of putting the Board of Education meetings on YouTube after we've had them for those people in the district that don't have Cable 6. And I'm wondering if we made any progress on that. It was a great idea.
Yes, Mr. Burns, I can address that. There is an expense associated with streaming live over YouTube. We expect to see that in the computer-assisted technology, the AV budget for next year. It's around $3,000 to buy the equipment to actually stream it live while we're...
I'm sorry to interrupt. I don't think we were talking about streaming it live. We were talking about just putting it up on YouTube after the meeting is concluded.
Yeah, I'm able to put something on YouTube whenever I want.
I
free.
misunderstood what the
I'm sorry,
request
yeah,
was.
I thought you wanted to stream it live.
No, it was after the meeting. In other Board of Educations I've seen, they usually have it up. There's maybe a little bit of editing or something, but it's usually up by the mid-morning of the following day. So I was wondering if we could do that and strike the costs.
Well, at the same time, I'll just throw it out there for devil's advocate. Anybody interested in streaming it live for the cost?
We'll include that in the budget, that discussion.
Okay, thank you.
I'll look into that.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, I misunderstood.
Thank you.
I might have presented it wrong.
Any other board member like to see anything? Raymond?
I was trying to get your attention earlier in the meeting. Can you, or would you examine 8.1.3 and 8.1.7 and tell me the reason for the difference in rate?
Yes.
Thank you.
So the 8.1.3 is a substitute that'll be called first on the list with regard to the other substitutes. 8.1.7, Bridget Gonzalez is already an employee in the district, and that's, quote, a blended rate because it's overtime. It's not a blend, whatever, you want to talk? Go ahead. It's not a blended rate, it's a negotiated rate.
That's the overtime rate for the sub-rate that 8.1.3 is getting, so it's time and a half of that rate because that employee at 8.1.7 currently works a full-time schedule here. So by Department of Labor standards, once that person works more than 40 hours, those hours over 40 hours are at time and a half, and they're at the time and a half rate of the $13.50.
I recall several weeks ago having a specific discussion on a particular employee that was going to be included in a blended rate.
That was the rate.
I don't remember having a second discussion for a second employee that's going to be included in the blended rate.
Because we didn't have one.
So there's someone that's interested on getting on the sub list, and we are struggling finding subs for cleaners, and people at that rate will be called as a last resort. So all of our other subs will be called first.
Okay.
Thank you. Anybody else? Anybody want anything for the next meeting? Mr. Bean, I'm just looking forward to that Super Kids presentation at the next meeting.
And we also have
With all the
Kermit
data.
Moyer coming.
And Mr. Moyer will be here. I will, next meeting will be December 12th, and I will now entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor? Opposed? No one? Motion carries. We are adjourned.